You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome back into the Insight NFL Podcast, our final podcast of the week. Week 11 primer. Secko, and pretty excited about this one. We also preview our starts of the week before we get into it. It is Thursday, the 13th of November, and I just have to say, I'm going to give you your flowers. Last week, you absolutely killed it. 4 from 4, carrying the show. But hey, if we add in my one, 5 out of 8 isn't too bad on the bad of the week. So feeling good. How are you feeling about week 11 with your starts of the week coming up shortly?
Yeah, pup, mate, it's a hard act to follow after you sort of hit on all four. And my worst performer was Roma Dunze, who was wide receiver 10, and given he had just had a donut the week before, it's pretty good. But obviously Travion Henderson, Jared Goff went bananas like we sort of predicted. And K-Dot had his most yards for the year. So I don't think we're not going to get 8 from 8 this week, but let's hope we can, because we're hitting form at the right time.
Hey, you never know. I won't rule out 8 from 8. If I can pull my finger out, we'll have a better chance. But we'll see. Always optimistic at before the week kicks off. Just before we get into things, last night's SuperCoach trade show and Captain's Huddle dropped this morning. Links is in the description. And we'll also have a new show that will be premiering tomorrow morning as well. It is week 11. We've only got 4 weeks left of the regular season before we dive into playoffs, the most crucial point of the year, that week 15 to 17. We don't care about week 18. If you've got playoffs that go into week 18, please smack your commissioner on the head and get that changed moving forward. But I must make moves, whether it be the final 4 weeks coming up to regular season or even during that playoff stint that we're going to be highlighting, and hopefully, being able to capitalize on some key matchups coming up, guys that we love that are flying under the radar and we really think could really add some value to your roster getting down that home stretch. How are you feeling about that one too, Secko? I know first time that we will be dropping it, but yeah, it should be a banger going live in the morning.
Yeah, pumped, mate. It's that time of year. Like, it's if you can identify a couple of guys who are going to be great, primarily over the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, and then and into the playoffs. It's really a necessity. Like, it's good to highlight those guys. You don't always see them in plain sight as well. Some of the guys we've chosen are a little bit off off Broadway, not your normal choices. So hopefully we'll talk through them. That'll drop tomorrow. We'll dig into that, and obviously hopefully there's some banter off the back of that to try and get us through that, and all our guys smash like our starts of the week will this week.
Can't go wrong with some banter. We're always dropping the good stuff. JJ McCarthy will not be featured on that show. Just a heads up, if anybody's wondering, the wet sock, he's definitely drenched. Again, he had a little stint there being dry, but no more. We will be answering some questions at the back end of this live show as well, so make sure to get them in the comments. Purely just start-sit questions for traditional fantasy for this week. If you have any SuperCoach questions, please drop them on the YouTube comment section, and we'll be able to get to them before the week kicks off tomorrow. We'll jump into some injuries before we get into our starts for the week. It is, it's Thursday here. Wednesday over in the States, there's still plenty of practices to come, so we aren't fully up to date and won't have the most live news before the week kicks off. But we've got a whole heap here that we can make some adjustments on. So let's get straight into injuries. Couple of guys ruled out that we already know of. Ramondre Stevenson with that toe injury just keeps opening that door up for Travion Henderson. Kayshon Boutte, old Booty man, is also out for the Patriots this week. Also in that game, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the Jets, he's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. I think there's an outside chance they might even just shut him down for the whole year. It's a gross organization. Aaron Glenn is tinkering on the edge of his seat, losing his job there. So yeah, one to watch out and see how that progresses, but he's definitely not playing this week. Terry McLaurin, expected not to play this week, but he is back in training, which we like to see. The Commanders own a bye next week, so you can probably expect him in week 13. We've got the trio Tampa Bay players still missing: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Bucky Irving. Chris Godwin and Bucky were both spotted at practice in very, very limited fashions to kick things off. They aren't expected to play this week, but still, it is positive signs, Secco. And we were talking about this one. They should have just put Bucky on the IR. Maybe it wasn't as serious as what they might have thought initially, but man, the Bucks really need Bucky back, and so do we for all of our fantasy lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's he's just so good. Like I think it's 4 weeks he played. I think it's his 7th week out, but or it's going to be 7 weeks if after next week. So, but yeah, he was so good those first 4 weeks. You forget, go back and look at the stats. He was everything for that team, and they need him. Like they're missing obviously Evans and Godwin. So Rashad White's not it. Sean Tucker's been okay, but he's a change of pace guy. He's a bit of a grinder. They need Bucky, the explosion that we saw last year and early this year. So hopefully he's back next week. As soon as next week will be amazing.
And also in that same game, the Bucks are taking on the Bills. Dalton Kincaid, tight end, and their clear number one target, makes the biggest impact. He will miss this week with that hamstring. Hopefully only out for one more week after this, but it's usually around that 2 to 3 mark with that hamstring. Isaiah Pacheco still not looking likely, still week to week with that knee injury. Marvin Harrison Jr. has popped up. He's been ruled out. He's required surgery for appendicitis. Probably will play next week. But how do you feel about this one, Secco? I mean, Jacoby Brissett, Trey McBride, maybe Michael Wilson as a little play on. I know I'll be taking a little stab at his receiving line this week. And as always, you have to gamble responsibly. But how are you feeling about that one for the Cards?
Yeah, massive DFS play. If anyone plays on Draft Stars, Michael Wilson won't be priced accordingly. I don't think just the short turnaround there. They may, but pricing usually comes out. I think it might have come out today. And I haven't looked, but playing 49ers, they've been very, very Civ-like for most of the year, and especially now they've losing more and more pieces every week. Trey McBride's obviously a smash. He's the number one. He's clear. With Brissett now there, it's a different proposition. So he's great. But yeah, Marvin Harrison, just when he sort of started to get back on track, his appendix bursts. It's not always 1 week as well. It could be multiple weeks. So Michael Wilson's definitely someone to look on your waiver wires if you've got a spare spot or you want to shuffle someone off, or you can move an out player into your IR. Michael Wilson could be a really good stash because he might be more than 1 week.
Yeah, I love it. I was looking at that too, and he is readily available in so many leagues out there. It's a great shout there. J.K. Dobbins, running back for the Denver Broncos, dealing with a foot injury. Potential IR candidate. They're up in arms. They're not too sure yet on what move to make. They're still waiting to confirm that, but it really opens up the door for RJ Harvey this week to get a full workload. They are up against the Chiefs. How are you feeling about RJ Harvey in this one, Secco, if Dobbins misses time? And it could be multiple weeks at that.
Yeah, it sort of screams a bit of Trayvon Henderson, doesn't it? The opportunity's finally going to be there for him. Having said that, Tyler Badee seems to be in Sean Payton's good graces every week. He gets plenty of snaps when he shouldn't. And then you got guys like Jaleel McLaughlin probably will be active because he likes having as many as he can. But yeah, RJ Harvey will be interesting to see. I'm facing him in a couple of leagues, and I was a bit annoyed when I realized that he's the lead guy now. But yeah, I think it'd be good to watch because if he is any good, and why he was sort of drafted in that sort of first 5 rounds back at the start of the season, this is his chance. And Kansas City's not a great spot, don't get me wrong, but the opportunity will tell us if he's any good for the next. If he goes on IR as well, Dobbins, if he's any good for the next 4 weeks. So looking forward to seeing that.
The door's wide open for the rookie. He just needs to make some magic happen. Another rookie here, Jackson Dart, with that concussion. We mentioned this at the start of the week. Usually these players miss, and it is lining up to be the case. The Giants have lined up Winston to start with Dart out, which we absolutely love for fantasy. It is against Green Bay, so again, proceed with caution. But I mean, he could have 2 touchdowns and 2 ints very, very easily in that one. So that'll be good for his receivers there. Players that are questionable, Secco, that we still are waiting to hear on. Rico Dowdle for the Panthers is missed practice with a quad injury. Will open the door up for Chuba Hubbard. They are up against the Falcons as well, and they've been very leaky. They let a whole heap of production through from JT, but JT's a different level, of course. But still, Rico Dowdle could have had a big game. Calvin Ridley for the Titans, limited with a hamstring. Again, probably it's not really worth anything because the Titans are just so gross. This one more so a couple pairing or wide receiver pairings for the Chicago Bears. Roma Dunze and DJ Moore dealing with some injuries. They didn't practice to open the week, which is concerning. Still plenty of time for those guys to get on track. But how are you feeling about this one, Secco, being a couple of days away?
That that situation. I mean, I feel bad if you have Jordan Love because he's unstartable. Tucker Craft was one thing, but Dobbs is the only other good, competent receiver at the moment. Christian Watson's gonna feast, which is great if you got him. If either of these guys miss, I feel like one of them's going to miss. If not Gold, if it's not Dobbs, I feel like one of them's going to probably miss because they were limited in practice. They might both play, but it's not ideal at this stage. It's Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams. They haven't really got a lot, and they're waiting on Jaden Reed. So, and Musgrave didn't really show much. So it's yeah, it's a tough one for them. It's sort of just an avoid at the moment. Their passing game, if you can.
Yeah, and that was Dobbs and Golden for Green Bay. And actually, those guys are looking like playing. Sorry, Secko, I
Oh,
mentioned about Roma Dunze,
sorry, were you talking
DJ
about
Moore. No,
sorry, I
no,
missed that.
that's all good. That's fine. That's
I'll
fine.
go back.
But
I'll go back.
for
I'll
Green
go
Bay,
back to that.
yeah. I'll just say for Green,
the same.
yeah.
Yeah, go on.
There you
Go.
I was going to say for Green Bay, it's really lining up, even with Dobbs and Golden. I think it's lining up to be Josh Jacobs in this one for up against the Giants. They could go off to a heavy lead. Their defense with Winston, they could have some short fields with some turnovers, so it could be a massive Jacobs spot, even with those two receivers back. But Roma Dunze and DJ Moore, Secko, for the Bears, they do have the Vikings this week. Never good signs. Are you slightly confident on these guys that they might get the nod with it being, still a few days away, or you're a bit concerned with these two?
Yeah, it's never good when people aren't practicing. That's the worry. The Vikings haven't been amazing. We're like, we always still have in our mind the Vikings defense is great and they can shut down pieces of an offense. But I feel like, if one of these guys plays, they'll be in a good spot. Rome's he's clearly the better player. If he's fit, I'll obviously back him if he plays. If he doesn't, Luther Burden, he's finally starting to show something. And your boy, Colson Loveland as well. They're showing a lot more. They could be really good options if you've got them to start because, there's no one else to rely on out there. Zacchaeus, and that's about it. So if one or both of these guys miss, it could be really good for those backup guys who haven't done heaps but are starting to do a bit more.
Hopefully not. Those guys are out there. We need as many players for fantasy weeks this week. And a couple other pairings for the 49ers. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall, both limited. Again, it's very hard to take anything what that Kyle Shanahan says with with any sort of, I guess, solidness. I got for lack of a better term, but it's just been always up in air with Kyle Shanahan. We know what he did with CMC last year with the Achilles and calf injuries that he sustained, and now with Purdy, he's been meant to be back the last 3 weeks. It feels like we know Pearsall's kind of been plodding along, but what do you think on this one, Secko, for the 49ers? I mean, they're going by in a couple of weeks as well, so is that kind of in consideration, or do you think these guys are both a chance at starting this week?
No, there's still 3 weeks until the bye, so I don't think they can hold anyone over to the bye. If anyone, it's Purdy. It just seems like they're more than happy to just let him go till playoffs, as dumb as it sounds, and hope they get there with Jones, which they're probably going to do, even if he plays every game. Their run isn't horrible. They've got Arizona they should beat, Carolina they should beat, Tennessee they should beat, Chicago they probably should beat as well at home. So they should get enough wins to get there, right? So Pearsall's the one that's actually quite exciting because he sort of hasn't been practicing. He's been ruled out, pretty much on a Thursday or a Friday most weeks. So for him to be still in consideration, looks like he's getting closer. He was great at the start of the year. You often forget, or it's easy to forget how good he actually was at the start of the season, and he was actually becoming a difference maker. He had a bunch of decent games there before he went down with his knee. So I'm excited for him. If he can be back, that's great. I think Purdy's just going to be held out, which is weird and sucks because it's been like that for, as you said, 3 or 4 weeks, without really anything new coming through the news cycle. So we'll see what happens there.
We hope they were all guns blazing, especially for that final 3-week stretch of the playoffs, because they've got very juicy matchups for the 49ers in Tennessee, the Colts, and Chicago. So we need these guys back firing as soon as possible. That's really it for all the injuries that we have at this point in time. Make sure to stay up to date if you do have a few of those guys that are questionable, because there will still be a couple more practices to go before we kick off week 11. Starts of the week. Secko, after going 4 from 4 and absolutely killing it, I will hand the mantle over to you to kick things off for us.
All right, starts of the week. As I said, big shoes to fill from last week. Let's see if we can have a crack. My start of the week at the quarterback position is a bit gross. Try and cover your ears a little bit while I say it, and I'll explain a bit why. It's Dak Prescott. He's had his moments. He's had his little bits. He's been. I mean, it's not gross. Gross is probably too harsh. He's had some really bad games. Last 2 weeks have been pretty pretty disappointing, pretty horrendous, really. He sort of just didn't come through, and he's sort of bringing down our Lamb and Pickens. But off the bye is the reason why Dak Prescott is just a hot start this week. I'd have him ahead of a lot of start worthy guys, right at the top of the rankings for me this week. First of all, as mentioned off the bye, he goes for an average of 270 yards, 2.5 touchdowns off the bye. And that's every year of his career. So it's every single time. He's only had one game under 240 yards and one game under 2 touchdowns. And that's good for 27 fantasy points per game. He's playing Las Vegas as well. I feel like this is the kind of game off a bye when they're fit and firing. Everyone's had Lamb. Don't forget, Lamb was injured. He came back. An extra week off for him is going to be massive. Everyone's sort of fit now. Everyone's firing. I just expect him to go out and literally have one of those vintage Dak days where he goes ballistic, has 4 touchdowns, 300 plus yards, and ends the week as QB 1, 2, or 3. So if you've got him, or you can pick him up, he's still available because he was dropped last week off by. Go and get Dak, play him over anyone except the top sort of 3 or 4.
Love it. Dak in a dome in prime time and off a bye. Man, I hope CD can get at least 2 of those touchdowns. That would just absolutely feed my fantasy teams this week.
I'm considering. I picked him up. I'm considering starting him over Patrick Mahomes at Denver this week. I'm probably going to do it. So that's sort of if you needed some conviction behind it, that's where I'm starting him ahead of someone like Patrick Mahomes, who we know is gold at the moment.
Always like starts over Patrick Mahomes. Got to love to hear that. My quarterback start of the week. This one definitely is gross compared to Dak. Tua Tagovailoa, absolutely disgusting. He's the quarterback 18 on the year, and he still has his bye to come. So his stats definitely are padded up with playing that extra game over a lot of these quarterbacks. They beat the Bills last week. It was hard to see. He threw 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You don't like seeing that. But I think this week up against the Washington Commanders, he can just really go for it all. Waddle and Achane have been playing lights out. Very good chance that both of these guys can score in this game. I think even Greg Dulcich, he's been getting a bit more involved, and the Commanders has just been that leaky of a defense. He might even be a chance to fall into the end zone as well. Commanders overall on the year are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And I think in this one, it's a massive spot for Tua. It is a little bit, I guess the only question mark I have is it's an international game. It's overseas. They can always get a little bit weird, but I think Tua and the Dolphins, they can definitely come out and win this one. And also the vibes have definitely been better in Miami too. They've won a couple of games that they probably shouldn't have. Mike McDaniels, probably his job is safe for this year, maybe even safer next, depending how they finish out this year as well. So those guys play hard for him. I did see a clip which was pretty funny. He was trolling drove past the Bills bar after the Miami win, and he was trolling the guys. And I think the reporters were asking, "Is this photo legit?" He's like, "Oh no, AI. It's just so real these days. Yeah, it's hard to tell." Which is just doesn't really help for fantasy analysis. But I just think, the vibes are higher in Miami, and hopefully Tua can capitalize it this week on a soft matchup. Running backs, Secko, kick it off.
So running back, start of the week. Again, a little bit gross, a little bit left of center. But it's Woody Marks of the Houston Texans. This is sort of sit with me for this one. He is just sneakily, just continuously got more and more out of this backfield, to the point last week he had 80% of the RB snaps. Like that's huge. He's pretty much cast Nick Chubb aside. Nick Chubb actually looks really good, which is good for him and it's good for the team because he's getting a lot less carries and he's being able to be more impactful like the Chubb we used to know. But it's not going to stop for Woody Marks. He's in charge there now. He's got the backfield to himself, and he's playing against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, it's been beaten up all year because they're never in front, so the team can run and run and run on them. So opportunity should go up again from last week, or at least carries will. Um, he's so running backs against Tennessee have had 16.6 fantasy points or more in 6 of the last 7 games. That's huge. If he can get sort of 16 points, that's a great start from Woody Marks. And I'm pretty much guaranteeing a touchdown. He's my touchdown guarantee of the week because they're going to have a lot of opportunities. By no means are Houston good. It doesn't really matter if it's Davis Mills or CJ Stroud, to be honest. I think Stroud's going to be back personally, but yeah, I think either way against this Tennessee team, it's just going to be opportunities, and Marks has shown that he can take that and run with it.
Woody Marks, touchdown guarantee. Just got to write that one down for after the show. Of course, gamble responsibly. I love that one there. Got him in a few spots as well, holding on for him. My running back here, targeting the matchup. It's one of the best matchups of the week for a couple of positions here. Jaylen Warren up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are the best matchup for opposing running backs, pretty much all positions at this point of the year. The Steelers did verse the Cincinnati Bengals back in week 7 at Cincinnati. They did lose by a couple of points there. There was over 60 points in this game. And Jaylen Warren he had 16 carries for 127 yards and 4 catches for 31 through the air in week 7. So absolutely massive score, putting up 17.8 fantasy points in a half PPR format. I think he does score this week. I won't label it a touchdown guarantee because you just never know. Aaron Rodgers could just throw a bunch of touchdowns to the tight ends like he did in this game. But Jaylen Warren, I just absolutely love it. Coming off a bad game against the Chargers. Chargers are a tough run defense. I think in this game, it's really going to open up for Jaylen Warren. And I kind of hope the Steelers don't win this game. I'd love to see Joey Burrow come back later in point of this year. But nonetheless, Jaylen Warren, my running back start of the week. Wide receivers. Secko.
Love that. Love that. All right. My wide receivers, a guy who's come on quite a bit in the last little month or so. He is back to being the stud that we all thought he was. It's, of course, Ladd McConkey. The reason why he's in the start of the week is because people still have this weird notion that's sort of carried on from the start of the year that he's no longer the wide receiver one. He is locked and loaded. He's the main guy. Herbert's looking for him everywhere. And, he's doing what he did last year. And if you think of last year, I think last year he was wide receiver 12 or 13 in points per game. And that was as a rookie. He's doing it last 6 weeks. He's had over 9 targets, 6 receptions, 84 yards, and 0.6 touchdowns per game over that span. 6 weeks is a good little stretch. Good sample size. It's good for 18 PPR fantasy points. Again, if you're getting that from the start of the week, you're happy. Anything on top of that is obviously a bit of gravy for him. I can just feel him getting Gadsden's a bit knocked up. He'll play by the look of it, but still, I reckon they'll take a bit away from that. And it's the Jags. We just saw what Davis Mills was able to do on the Jags defense last week. Yes, it was in junk time, but they still had to allow him to do it. So I think Herbert, still with no real solid running game. Vidal's been okay. He's been sort of missing in games as well. Feel like they're going to go back to just beating up on a team to really sort of pad their stats a bit as well, and give them some belief going into their bye next week, so they can leave everything on the field as well with a bye. So Ladd McConkey, smash him. He's going to have a monster day.
I'm with you there on Ladd McConkey. My wide receiver start of the week, I'm sticking in that same Cincinnati Bengals versus the Pittsburgh Steelers game. T. Higgins, I'm going to take him in this one. In the first game, we saw Jamar Chase absolutely go ballistic. Jamar Chase came out and he was just like, oh, they did it. The defense showed us exactly what we thought, and we just picked them apart. T in this game also played pretty good, 6 for 96 and a touchdown on 10 targets. I'm kind of feeling that they might put a bit more emphasis on Jamar Chase this game after he absolutely gashed them back in week 7. So I'm leaning more towards T to break out. And I think he actually outscores Jamar Chase this week, which could be a bit ballsy there. But T, he's been firing with Joe Flacco there. I also feel with the Bengals, with that news that Joey B might return sooner than we thought. I think the whole team is going to be lifting and really trying to get the win here. So I will be definitely rooting for the Bengals in this one. And I think T. Higgins will be a monster part in this. We did see T absolutely go off against Chicago in week 9 against the bye. 7 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think it could be a similar scoreline in this game against Pittsburgh in week 11.
100%. He's scoring. I love that. He's scoring touchdowns, and that's what makes T such a good player and made him such a big player last year. I 100%. Great show. I was going to say, if you didn't say it, that I think the news of Burrow being back will bring them up, bring everyone up, bring their defense up to try and make it win some games and get a playoff chance. So I reckon there's a sneaky little chance that they might be able to upset this week.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Tight ends. Secko, we love talking about these. Who do we have this week?
All right. This is right off the one of the injury news articles that we spoke off the top. There's a new quarterback in the Big Apple. His name is Jameis Winston. And what does Jameis Winston like to do above everything else? Just gunsling. Just drop back, throw it to anyone and everyone. And the easiest ones to hit in that offense is the big tight end Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson's not a name everyone would know. He hasn't done heaps. He's done bits and pieces. He had a really good game last week. But all that matters is Russ Wilson is not behind center and Jameis is. Think to last year, Jameis Winston played 7 full games with David Njoku. He helped him to an average of over 4.5 catches, 55 yards, and a half a touchdown per game. That's Theo's stat line. Njoku's is 6.5 catches, 55 yards, and 0.6 touchdowns per game in those 7 games. That's massive for a tight end. That's a baseline for me. I think Theo Johnson's going to have a big game because he's got no one to throw to, and Jameis Winston loves throwing the ball. So Slayton maybe, Rondell Robinson maybe. I think Theo Johnson as a tight end in this landscape is going to have definitely a tight end 1 startable game. He may even have a touchdown or 2, as Jameis is probably going to throw 3 and 3 ints in the same game as he loves to do.
We love Jameis, and even better, just seeing Darius Slayton missed practice, one that we missed on the injuries with a hamstring today. So, I mean, without Slayton, Theo could definitely move up in that pecking order and, just be the main beneficiary of Jameis Winston throwing the ball 50 times in the game. My tight end start of the week. Again, I'm targeting the matchups. Matchups aren't everything, but I feel like this player, Miami, have just given up so many points to the tight ends this year, and Zach Ertz is going to be my start of the week in this one. I picked him up in a couple of spots off waivers this week. He was readily available out there. I needed a spot start with, I think I had Juwan Johnson in a couple of leagues and Tyler Warren in one that I needed to replace. And Zach Ertz, I think, can do a mighty fine job. They do have Marcus Mariota under center, which we don't love, but Mariota, he can throw the ball short accurately to his tight ends, and I think Zach Ertz can definitely clean up in that. Zach Ertz is the clear number 2 weapon behind Debo in this offense. I feel their running games are very lackluster. They've got Chris Rodriguez. It looks like he's probably going to play. Bill Koski-Merritt has been very underwhelming. So I think it'll probably be Mariota, Debo, and Zach Ertz that are getting all the points in this one. And even better, Miami are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. High implied points total in the week that we'll get to once we go through the game-by-game breakdown. So I think, Zach Ertz, he can score a touchdown in this one. I won't guarantee it because it is Zach Ertz and Marcus Mariota, but I think there's a very good chance this week. Defense. Secko, we'll run through these before we get into the breakdowns of the week. Oh, you're on mute there, Secko.
Sorry, I was having a cough. Okay. Sorry. My start of the week is the Los Angeles Chargers up against the Jags offense. Jags offense is battling. They went all right against Houston, which was a bit of a shock last week. Houston had been really good. They turned it on a bit, but it wasn't because Trev was doing much, and he's just been sort of plodding along. He's had 1 or fewer touchdowns in 6 of the last 9 games, or 6 of the 9 games he's played this year. He's thrown 4 interceptions the last 3 weeks. He's given up sacks. Given up 7, and 5 sacks in 3 of the last 4 weeks. And only against the Raiders, he only gave up 1 sack. But against half-decent defenses, that's what Trevor Lawrence is doing. He's getting sacks and he's turning the ball over, and that's what you need from a DST. So I think the Chargers are really in line to get 2 takeaways, 5 sacks. In normal DST scoring, that's it's a good sort of 12, 14 points. And they don't score high usually against good defenses as well. So, fire up Chargers. If they're on your waivers, They're a 1 week play with a bye next week. Get them in, and then stream them out next week. But start them if you got them.
Charges against Trevor Lawrence, man. Lawrence has been such a letdown this year. Yeah, you can definitely, his true colours have come out. There was questions going in if he was any good, but I love this one. He's a turnover machine. My defense, this was the one that just stuck out for me, and we've been hammering the last couple of weeks on our SuperCoach trade show. Baltimore Ravens, they've had a massive schedule the last few weeks coming off the bye. It's been very juicy, and it gets even better this week. They are taking on the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel has not looked good. I think the Ravens can have a couple of takeaways in this one. Gabriel's been not too bad at throwing interceptions. He's only had 2 on the year. He's only had 5 starts, but I think he can add a couple more this week with the Ravens. They're getting healthy. They're playing to win. Their margin of error is very small. They need to win out to make sure that they can get into the playoffs. Lamar's back healthy. Derrick Henry's going to be rolling in this game, I think. Yeah, they could shut out the Browns in this one. I think, yeah, the Ravens could absolutely dominate, and that defense is going to eat in this one here too. So that's our starts of the week for week 11. Secko, we'll come back. We were, a combined 5 from 8 last week. We'll wait and see how we go this week. Hopefully I can help you out. Keep the boat sailing there.
We'll get a 6 out of 8 at least.
Let's hope. Coming in, we do have our game preview week 11. There are 2 teams on bye, Colts and the Saints. Let's jump straight into it.
Let's preview the games for the week ahead. It's time for Game Talk.
Kicking off a divisional game on Thursday Night Football tomorrow morning for us here in Australia. The disgusting Jets heading to New England to take on the Patriots. The Pats are a massive 13-point favourites, nearly 2 touchdowns here. They could just absolutely roll these guys. The total is 43 points. From the Patriots, I think it's pretty clear who you can start. Trevion Henderson, Secko's start of last week, could probably dominate again this one here. Drake May, you're going to start him no matter what. He's been a stud, MVP favourite at the moment with Stafford. Stephon Diggs has been super good. And with Kayshon Boutte out, you can expect more from him as well. So those guys are all clear starts. On the Jets, Secko definitely gets a bit murkier. We still don't know the quarterback situation. Head coach Aaron Glenn just loves trying to be as strategic as he can. Just announce Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor. It really doesn't matter at this point. What do you kind of feel like on the Jets? Is there anyone here that you're confident in starting in this one?
The only one's Breece Hall, because there's a few reasons for that. And he's the kind of guy, he needs to play for a contract. So he'll be making sure he gets in the ear of everyone, whether it's Taylor or Justin Fields. But I think it's going to be Fields. They won. He was terrible. They won. So rare to change it unless they unless they lose usually. But he'll be getting to Fields' ear and saying, just if you ever in any second thought, just get it to me. I need to pad these stats to get paid next year. So you start him, but literally do not start anyone else. Even Mason Taylor is dead. There's just no passing volume, so it sucks. But they're in a void outside of Breece Hall, and even then, you're sort of hoping and praying.
And for the Pats, Secko, quickly, is there any other guys outside of those main threes? I know Kyle Williams, he had a massive touchdown last week. He only had 1 catch. Demario Douglas floating around, Hunter Henry. Is there any interest in starting those guys if you need to, or you just want to stick to those core 3?
No, Kyle Williams it's fun. We might get him some more snaps, but it's 1 catch. It's a bomb. It's not prescriptive. There is a guy though. It's Mac Hollins. It's disgusting, but with Boutte out, he's in that role. He's an extra receiver role. We did nothing the week. So last week he had 6 catches for 106 yards. He did nothing the week before, but then he had 7 for 89 the week before that. So it's not like he's just come out of nowhere. He's doing it a bit. He's getting a lot more of a role. Touchdowns might come eventually as well. I wouldn't want to start. Don't get me wrong. Don't want to start him, but he's a bit of a DFS dart throw type of guy. Who can come up because he's got the role, and that's really in a game like this. Jets defense, there's no cornerbacks anymore. This could be just a game where you get a pretty steady 10, 15 points out of him in a half PPR setup.
The Mac is back, baby. I like that. I like that call. I'll have to have a little DFS stab at him. Moving on, international game this week over in Spain, the Commanders and the Dolphins. We touched on these guys with a couple of our starts of the week. Dolphins are favourites, -2.5 points. It's a nice 47.5 point total here. For the Commanders, we know Terry McLaurin isn't going to play. We know Marcus Mariota's under center. I think you can probably start him up against this matchup. He has that rushing production to add on us floor. Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, probably the only other two I'd be willing to start. The running game is gross. I know it is Miami, but Secko, would you any interest in starting any of the running backs here for the Commanders, or do you think there's better options elsewhere?
There's probably better options elsewhere. The one thing to note is Rodriguez looks like he was going to be out, but he's actually trending to play now. I think Dan Quinn came out in his media presser and said that he would play. I think he had 14 carries or 14 carries in the first half, or 14 total touches maybe. And the next highest was Bill with 3. And then it sort of changed. He got injured, and then Bill came on, and Mick Nichols was there as well. So looks like he's a number one guy now. So if you're going to start anyone, Miami traditionally has been great for running back. So again, it's a bye week. It's a bye week replacement type thing. That might have been snaps. He didn't even have 13 touches. So I mean, the first 13 snaps to 3, Bill. So yeah, he's just if Rodriguez is there, he's a goal line guy. Miami's terrible against running backs, as I said. You don't want to start him, but in a pinch, if you're looking for someone off the waiver wire to stream for a week, Rodriguez might be the go because he's very available, and he wouldn't have been picked up in the first lot of waivers that ran because he was training to be out. So he's probably the one I would start if I had to. I still think I won't be surprised if we come back next week and Bill's had 120 yards and a touchdown. It still wouldn't surprise me in the slightest because it's Miami and because he's not that bad. He can't be that bad. So we'll see what happens there. But I wouldn't start anyone with confidence.
Love the Rodriguez call. Definitely the best chance at a touchdown there. Oh man, Bill Krosky-Merritt is just what a letdown he's been. Hopefully he cashed out when the hype was there. For the Dolphins, Tua, one of my starts of the week, Jalen Waddle has been lights out. Very soft defense against Commanders too. You got to roll with him. And Devon A. Chain. Secko, now I have to is it A Chain or A Chan? I know he changed it at one point last year.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been kind of taking my pick with which way I want to say it. Could you clarify that? I don't.
As far as I know, it was changed. He corrected someone and said it's A-Chan. And then, as far as I know, it never went. But it's never been gone back. Now, some players have changed and gone back, which makes it confusing. But I call him A-Chan because that's what it became. But it doesn't really matter. He was A-Chan for a long time before he corrected anyone as well. So it doesn't really matter.
I'm just going to call him Devin. Start Devin this week with confidence.
It's Devon. You see, you're wrong with the first name as well.
There we go.
Can't get it right. Devon A-Chan. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Devon that as a kid you'd get that Devon meat from the delis, and it was absolutely disgusting. But yeah, it was
I don't know how people
mystery,
like that.
Mystery meat there. But Tua, Waddle,
meat.
the running back for the Dolphins, start him. Greg Dulcich, Secko, is he of any interest to you in this one?
Sort of could be because the Commanders have been legit horrible against tight ends for most of the year, but specifically the last little period. So again, you don't want to be chasing this guy. This guy's you're in a deep league. You've got Warren or Juwan Johnson, and you're looking at the waiver wire, and there's no one there at all. Everyone's been stashing, or people have been worried about injuries and picked up a few and then held on to them. If that's the case, you could do a lot worse. But I wouldn't want to chase Greg Dulcich just purely because of his history in the league of under delivering when he was relevant. He'd always drop the ball at Denver. I remember it. He was startable, and then he'd be rubbish for a month and dropped and then be good again. So one of those players is very hard to trust. But again, you could do a lot worse than having to stream him.
Moving on to the early Monday morning slate here in Australia, either 4 or 5 a.m., depending if you are north or south here in Australia. Panthers taking on the Falcons at Atlanta. The Falcons are favourites, -3.5 points. These two did play back in week 3, and Carolina shut the Falcons out 30-0, which nobody saw coming. Drake London was injured in that game too, so he did play a lot of the snaps, but he was kind of still dealing with an injury. It did not look right. Total is 42.5, so it's still okay. It's definitely not where we want to see it, but this will be one to watch. We still are waiting on news on Rico Dowdle to see if he gets a start. If he is started, I think you can start him with confidence. He's been a beast. If not, you can slide in Chuba Hubbard. He won't probably do as good, but he's still going to be able to help you this week. For the Panthers on this side of the ball, Secko still, Ted McMillan and Bryce Young. How do you feel on those guys up against the Falcons?
Yeah, look, Tedero is going to have one of these games eventually. I feel it may never come because I think Bryce Young sort of just drags him down to half. It just limits him his ability to go massive. I think a couple of weeks ago he had 102 passing yards. McMillan had 46 of them. I think last week as well he had over 40% of his total yards as well. He's doing his best to try and feature this guy, which is great for Tetaroa, but it's just I feel like it's limited with the way that the Bryce Young's playing, and it's probably limited by the fact that Rico Dowdle's been so good, and they're able to turn the keys over to him. So, he's a start. He's a start, but he's not someone again. You if you had someone who's sort of in a good spot, in a good player, in a good position this week, you could definitely start him over Tetaroa. The Falcons haven't been amazing for wide receivers either. So again, not a smash play, not a sit, just a sort of a mere start.
And I'm Bryce Young, Secko. Would you rather start Jameis Winston or him this week?
Jameis. Oh, Jameis.
Easy, hey.
Jameis will chuck the ball. So
yeah.
The last 2 weeks, Bryce Young's at 124 yards and 101 yards. Like you can't. And he doesn't run. Like he profiled as a bit of a runner. He doesn't run. It's just impossible. Like he may have a massive game at any time. He's done it a couple of times this year, but it's too hard to trust. So yeah, Jameis will at least be chucking the ball for a lot.
Massive letdown. He has had under 2 fantasy points the last 2 weeks, Bryce Young. And for the Falcons, you have to start Bijan, even though he's been disappointing. Drake London, in turn, you're going to start him as well. What about Tyler Algier, Secko, in this one? I know he's been vulturing touchdowns. Raheem Morris is definitely blowing him up a bit. Do you think there's any chance of maybe a spot start if you need to with Tyler Algier?
It's a spot start, but you've got to be prepared to leave that game with 3.1 points. That's just the reality of it. It could easily be a massive Bijan bounce back game, like it was, like it was whatever that game was where he had a shitload of points. I think it was against San Francisco maybe a few weeks ago. This guy's too good to be just left to not get any opportunities near the goal line or anything like that. And both of those touchdowns last week were at the one. LG is likely to come in those situations just because it's almost like a extended tush push. He just bowls his way through, but anything further out, Bijan's probably going to score. So yeah, running backs, Panthers running backs, they gave up almost 100 yards to Alvin Kamara last week. That's saying a lot. In 2025, Alvin Kamara can run for yards on you. I think Bijan's going to be just fine. LG will be fine, but has to score. So go in knowing that. Don't have a high risk team and go with Algier as your RB2 because it might not pan out.
And the guy that you cannot start, I think the only way you could start this guy is if you're locked into the 1 seed and you're purely just playing this week for vibes. That's Kyle Pitts. He's just been very disappointing. I still have to get his name mentioned in there, but do not start Kyle Pitts this week. Yeah, it's Kyle Pitts. It is what it is.
Yep.
Moving on, Bears and the Vikings. And there's so many divisional games this week too, Secko, I've noticed. It's going to be so many games I'm looking forward to watching. This one, including it, the Vikings are 3-point favorites at home, 48.5 total. I guess this total is implying that Ruma Dunze and DJ Moore are probably slated to start. That's probably what the bookies are thinking with this one. I mean, I kind of like the Bears in this game, just with the Vikings. I don't know. JJ McCarthy's looked pretty troublesome. We could probably start there on the Viking side of the ball. I think Aaron Jones, he's a must start. He's definitely handled the mantle. Jordan Mason is really nothing. You can't start him. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, Secko, that's probably where I'll lean on you with this. I mean, it is a divisional game. JJ's been pretty good against divisional opponents in his career, but JJ McCarthy, Wet Socky, has not looked too good in supporting him for fantasy production. So how do you like him this week?
I think there's a chance this is a massive bounce back spot for definitely Justin Jefferson. Like the Bears have given up a decent number of yards to receivers, and JJ McCarthy hasn't been horrible. He threw it a lot more last week. He just missed JJ on so many balls. Just timing. It's I sort of said it. I think I might have said it on yesterday or Monday's pod. It seems to be it's just off timing, and it'll come good at some point. They have to get some sort of chemistry. Um, the Giants, Slayton had 89 yards, Wandell had 62 yards. They're giving up plenty of yardage. The Bears, I think, KOC for a divisional game will get them pumped up. We'll get them playing. So I think Jefferson is someone you can start with some confidence this week. Obviously you're not going to be benching him too often unless you've got probably 2 or 3 studs. But yeah, I think you can actually have a crack at him with a bit of confidence that hopefully things get better at home and they can connect.
And we did see in JJ McCarthy, this was the first game of the year where they matched up against the Bears. This is where they came back from behind. He had those heroics in the fourth quarter, and that one quarter just was a complete mirage that we all fell for because, that was really all he's really done so far this year. But it is lining up. Justin Jefferson vows there are better weeks ahead, so we'll wait and see with that one. On the Bears side of the ball, DeAndre Swift, he's limited in practice, but he will start in this one, and we've seen Coleman Ongai last week took a massive back seat, saved his day with a touchdown. If he didn't have that, he would have only had 2 points in the week. So I'd probably sit Coleman Ongai with Swift starting. Caleb Williams, you're going to start him in this one. He's looked pretty good. Add some rushing production as well. And then the receivers. Rome Odunze, you probably start him with the most confidence. DJ Moore, he's been very hit or miss. I think if you've got better options out there, you can look towards that. Rome Odunze is probably the only one I'd be confidently starting. And then Colston Loveland as well. He's taken over the tight end room. So I think you can start him for this. Anything else from you on the Bears in this one, Secko?
Now, the other thing is if DJ Moore sits, I think Luther Burden is actually a really good start. In this game, he's got more snaps. Last week he had more snaps again than he's had, the most he's had for the year. He's just looking more integrated. They're developing plays for him. He was a highly touted draft pick. I think now's the time where they can actually maximize him if DJ Moore misses, especially. I think Zacchaeus is almost completely gone, which fingers crossed he just completely wiped off the play sheet. And we can see Burden actually start to build a little bit more and become an actual viable player who could be someone who can rely on come the end of the regular season in fantasy.
Make sure to go check out waivers if Burden is lingering out there. Make sure to snap him up, especially if DJ Moore get missed. You got to get in early with those. Moving on, Packers and the Giants. Packers are a touchdown favorite in New York, 43.5 total points in this one. For the Giants, we talked about Jameis Winston. You could probably look to start him. It might be a little bit gross, but I mean, he might start off slow. He might have 2 picks in the first half, but he usually kind of catches up in garbage time and produces some magic when the defense is a little bit worn out on the other side of the ball. Tyrone Tracy has looked okay, but I think in this tough matchup against the Packers, you'd probably look elsewhere for other options. Theo Johnson, your start of the week, no doubt. Darius Slayton's missed practice with a hamstring. Is there any other wide receivers on the Giants, Secko, you'd be looking to start with Winston under center?
I'm trying to think. They haven't really got anyone of note. Slayton's been great for them. They have like Gunnar Olszewski and then sort of all they have. Jalen Hyatt never came on. So it's if Slayton misses, Wan'Dale Robinson, I think they had they the team that had little Jordan Humphrey played those couple of games after Neighbours was out. If it was, he could be the spot start guy for them, but not for fantasy. It's one of those weird things, but that's why I think Theo Johnson's such a good play. He's so required. If Slayton's out, even if Slayton's in, the matchup's there for them to take advantage of it. But the most important thing is that Jameis has got one chance. Like Dart's back next week, right? So Jameis knows he has one shot. He's just gonna say fuck it and go all game and not even worry about it. So if nothing else, we know they're going to be probably down and he's going to be chucking it all game long. Great. If you've got the Packers DST, I say fire them up as well because he's going to be going to the final whistle.
Yeah, he won't stop. He'll go down in flames of glory there. And I did see actually Lil Jordan Humphrey. He's back on the Broncos now. They picked him up, so less options there. Even better for Theo Johnson
There you go.
and even Wandale as an option for the Packers. Josh Jacobs, no doubt. I would have loved to have had him as a start of the week if it wasn't so obvious. Massive chance for 2 touchdowns in this one. Jordan Love, Secko, how do you feel on him? I know we've got Romeo Dobbs and Matthew Golden looking like they'll both play. Luke Musgrave's there. Christian Watson is still there. Do you have any confidence in Jordan Love and the receivers in this one?
Yeah, it's just hard. Like it's hard for me because we saw like he looked lost. I know there was the Eagles, and Eagles have been pretty good. Eagles are a good defense, and they've been pretty good. But last week was on must be Monday Night Football. He just had he was nowhere near it. It's so far off. And with Jacobs there, they just don't need to. I don't know. They just don't in this game especially. They don't need to rely on Love to win the game for them. So I feel like if you've got Love, maybe look elsewhere this week. He wouldn't be in my top 12 quarterbacks. Just purely combination, but his receiving core a little bit banged up, the opponent, and just Josh Jacobs being absolutely on a tear against a really easy run defense. So I think just sit if you can.
Moving on, a game that we will run through super quickly. Another divisional game. The Texans heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Texans are just under a touchdown favorite. Very low, 37.5 total points. Absolutely gross to see. For the Texans, Woody Marshall, start of the week. Start him with confidence. I think Nico Collins as well. You can start him. Hasn't been confirmed if CJ Stroud is back from concussion protocols. I saw he did miss practice again, but again, there is still a couple of days left before the game. Even if it is Davis Mills, I think Nico Collins is still okay. Dalton Schultz, probably start him. They're probably the only 3 that you can start on the Texans. And I think for the Titans, Secko, is there really anybody that you can start in this one?
No, no.
Yeah.
Tajay Spears if you wanted to. It's Houston. Houston's been great. They were bad last week. They're not going to be bad again in another divisional game. There's probably no grosser game than Texans Titans in the history
Yeah.
of the NFL. It just every time it rolls around. I remember it was a Derrick Henry beat up game every year. So when he was at Tennessee, it was just a boring game because he'd always have 150 and 2. Now it's just literally it's just irrelevance and it sucks because it exists. But Texans have 15 implied points. Like that's Woody Marks is going to score one of the touchdowns. There's not a lot of time, not a lot of room for anyone else to do much.
Yeah, I think the defense might score for the Texans this week instead of the offense against the Titans. Yeah, it's going to be a gross one. Very gross. Moving on, Chargers and the Jags. Your start of the week, Ladd McConkey's in here. Definitely start him at the gate. The Chargers are a field goal favorite, 43.5 total points. With Ladd McConkey, I think Aronde Gadsden, you can probably start him. The Jags are leaking points against tight ends and wide receivers, so we love to see that. They are tough against running backs, Secko. So in Kamani Vidal, he still has the mantle this week. We saw him. He's been a bit red light, green light. He was good last week. Do we think he's going to be a red light in this matchup against the Jags? Or are you looking to sit him if that's the case?
Yeah, I'm probably going to sit him just in general. At the moment, he does have the odd good game, which it makes you sort of want to go back there. But if I had him, I'd be looking at other options to start. I just don't love the matchup, and I just don't love. I think they're going to throw a lot. I just feel like it's one of those games. The Jags are susceptible to the pass, so I feel like that's going to be the game plan, and that's sort of going to limit Vidal's impact.
I'm with you there. Justin Herbert, start him no matter what. Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston, questionable starts. Secko, I think if you had to pick one out of those 2, would you lean Johnston for the touchdown upside?
Yeah. Yeah, touchdown upside. He also had 10 targets last week, so he's back to being fully integrated. Keenan got a couple of late receptions, late targets. He was mostly unsighted for a lot of the game. That's even with Gadsden missing from early on in the third quarter. I think he was out, and that's sort of that's coincided. Once sort of Gadsden came on, got a bigger role, became more of a a power slot type. Keenan dropped right off. And even when he was out, Keenan didn't really get incorporated back in. Actually, Quentin Johnson started playing big slot snaps, which is weird. So I think Quentin Johnson's clear number 2, and then obviously Allen, but I'd probably have Gadsden ahead of Johnston in the pecking order for startability.
I'm with you there. And for the Jags, don't think we need to spend too much time on this one. Travis Etienne is probably the only one that you probably could start if you have to, but again, it would be hold your breath. With Travis Etienne, I'd be looking elsewhere when looking at Trevor Lawrence. He's looked gross. The wide receivers as well. The Chargers have been the second best defense against opposing wide receivers, so we don't love that. I saw Parker Washington miss practice as well, so not a lot of options there. Jacoby Myers, Secko, does he interest you whatsoever in this one?
If Parker Washington's out, he has to. Like, literally, there's no one else. It's Domi Brown. It's A. Trammell. Is it Aaron Trammell? I'm guessing. I don't even know. Austin. There you go. So a white guy. They never move the needle much. White guy receivers, and then it's a bunch of dud tight ends. So, and that's not even with Brenton Strange might be back. If he is, it's fine. But yeah, I just avoid. They're playing. They're just not playing that well. Trevor Lawrence isn't enhancing anyone at the moment. And obviously with Thomas and Hunter out, it's just a Chargers game you just don't want to walk away from.
And we will walk away from that right now. Moving on, the Bucks taking on the Bills in Buffalo. Bills are favourites, -5.5 points, 48.5 total, which we love to see. Bills coming off a devastating loss. They really need to win this one. And I think Josh Allen will put his Superman cape on and try and take over in this one. And I think it's really, I know the Bucks are tough up against the Bucks. Up against the run. But I think James Cook, they're going to rely on him heavily in this one. Josh Allen, James Cook, no doubt. Dalton Kincaid is going to miss this week with that hamstring, which we hate to see. Khalil Shakir's been dealing with some injuries as well. Keon Coleman definitely is not it. I saw Josh Palmer, though, logs a full practice. He'd probably be the one that's going to outscore all the wide receivers for the Bills in this one. But anything from you, Secko, with that Bills wide receiver call, it's very gross. They really should have tried to try harder to trade someone in the deadline.
They got someone. They got someone in this week, Mecole Hardman. Just gear up for Mecole Hardman to come in and dominate. They're just filling up with a whole bunch of the same guys that no one wants, like Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore and now Mecole Hardman. It's Jackson Hawes is the best chance of an impactful play with Kincaid out at the moment. If Shakir misses, I'm actually worried. I'll have the Bucks to win it if they haven't got Shakir, because they literally have no one to throw the ball to. If he's gone, they could really use a Matt Collins right about now, which I never thought I'd hear myself saying.
I think we all could use a little bit of Matt Collins. He's just a beast, that guy. And on the Bucks side of the ball, Emeka Egbuka, very clear start, no matter what. Baker Mayfield, in turn, Bills have been a pretty leaky defense. Sean Tucker or Rashad White, Secko. It's been a little bit more split. Rashad White's still been as inefficient as ever. If you had to pick between those two guys, which way would you lean?
Finally, I'd probably go with Sean Tucker. He just seems to offer a little bit more pop, a bit more chance to actually break something out of the backfield. White's just sort of been going through the motions. He's not really dominating the passing game like we sort of thought. He had 5 catches on 5 targets last week, but 16 yards. He's not getting anywhere impactful. But he's plodding along for the last couple of weeks now. Whereas Sean Tucker actually is getting some decent chunk plays, getting some runs out of the backfield and actually getting somewhere with it. So if you had to start one of them, you got them both. I'd consider him an option. I wouldn't love it. Wouldn't love either, to be honest. It's not the kind of matchup that I'm looking to go with. But yeah, Tucker's been better probably for the last 3 weeks. I'd side with him and goal line as well if they get down there.
I'm there with you on Tucker. Bills have been horrid against the run. Kate Otten, you can also start him just because there is just that many, or lack thereof, of pass catches there for Baker and the Bucks. Moving on to the second latest slate on Monday morning here in Australia. Another divisional game. This game is going to be super fun to watch. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one too, Secko, with being the Rams man here. The Seahawks heading to LA. Rams are a field goal favorite at home. 48.5 total points. We'll start off with the Rams. Devontae Adams, have you heard any update on him if he is going to be playing this week? I know he was dealing with that oblique. I know he is expected to play, which is good, but I mean, you just rinse and repeat with the Rams. It's Matt Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka, and Devontae, and that's really everybody they have to worry about in this one.
It's been the same way all year. We've loved it. We've spoken about it. That's why the Rams are so good for fantasy and just in general. They funnel it to a few guys they know can make big plays. So the interesting one is Blake Corum. He's getting more snaps. It's not taking much away from Kyron because they're dominating so much. Seahawks game is probably a little bit different. So we'll get a true indication of how much they actually want Corum to be part of it rather than just how much McVay can sort of take the piss against lesser opponents and keep Kyron fit. Because this is all working well because Kyron's performing at a higher level because he's not on the field for 90+% of snaps. So, but yeah, you nailed it. Start them all. It's the Seahawks. It's a dangerous game, but start them all because you can't really see any the way they're playing, the four of them.
And on the Seahawks side of the ball, the only people that I'm not really going to start, I think, is the running backs. It's always been up in air. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. There's been splitting touches. They both looked okay last week, but the Rams are the #1 defense against the run so far to opposing fantasy running backs in this one. How do you feel on that running game, Secko? Do you kind of see it the same way in this game?
Yeah, I think you have to. It's hard to trust. The problem is it's hard to trust them, right? So that's the issue at play here is you pick one, start them, they backseat it, they don't do much, or the other one pops off, and you're like, it should have been Charbonnet's touchdown. Why is Kenneth Walker involved? And you just get annoyed by it because it's so choppy. So I'd avoid it all if I could.
The Seahawks pass catchers, they are players that you definitely do want to start in this one. Sam Darnold's been very good. I'm going to start him. It's a divisional game, high over under. You love that. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Probably the first time in 3 weeks that he'll play 90% of the snaps or more. They just haven't needed him. Washington in week 9, 67% of the snaps. Last week against Arizona, only played 42%. Still gave you more than 17.5 fantasy points in a half PPR format. Even still, I think he could go ballistic in this game. I can see a game script where kind of Rams get a lead out front and Seahawks have to play a bit of catch up for probably the first time all this year. And JSN could just go absolutely bonkers. So I love him. Start him no matter what. Rashid Shaheed, Secko, I think is also a nice little sneaky start. We saw he was getting integrated last week. He had a couple of carries in the backfield, which was surprising and even murkied up that situation there for Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet even more. But I think up against the Rams, Rashid Shaheed could be a sneaky long bomb touchdown play in this one. How do you feel about Shaheed? And then is there anyone else on the Seahawks side of the ball that you'd be willing to start?
No, so Shaheed he only played 34% of snaps last week, only got one target. But yeah, to your point, he was integrated. They manufactured some touches because they wanted to get the ball in his hands, and he was the most effective runner out of the backfield. No shocks there, but
Yeah.
I feel like his snaps are going to jump quite a bit. Cup is going to be playing, so they'll be mixed there, and there's still Torrey Horton involved. So he might only be a sort of 60% guy, but I think you're spot on. They're going to be throwing a lot more than they've sort of had the last month. They've had a really easy run of it, and they've been able to sort of just throttle down and kill the game away. So he should be a little bit more competitive for them. So I expect some deep balls, some shots. Take him. Donald needs to prove he can take it up to them. So to the good teams. So they're 7-2. They want to prove it. This could be a massive game for Shaheed as well as JSN.
Love it. A game that I will not love and will not be watching as much. The Ravens heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Ravens are just over a touchdown favorite, 39 total points. Very gross to see. I mean, for the Browns, I think you can really only start Quinshon Judkins. I'm not too keen on any of the pass catchers there. You know, the tight ends are kind of in that roulette. The wide receivers are kind of up and down. Cedric Tillman is another week back removed from returning from the IR. Still super murky. And yeah, with my start of the week in the Ravens defense, I think they just absolutely kill the Browns. How do you see that side of the ball, Secko? Do you have any confidence in any of the pass catchers there for Cleveland?
Judy had his first good game in almost the entire year. You can't trust him. It's just Dylan Gabriel. Like, again, if there's only one of Fannin or Njoku, you probably could trust one of them, but you can't trust them both or either of them if they're both there. It's just a challenge. It's not Quinshon Judkins should be okay, but probably not. He doesn't really get any work out of the backfield either. They're probably going to be trailing early on and probably throughout. So it's just someone will probably have a good day. That's the likelihood. Ravens are getting better, but they're still giving up points to someone. You can't guess who it's going to be. It could easily be Cedric Tillman having his best game of the year out of nowhere. Now that he's sort of fully fit, but I wouldn't be able to trust anyone personally.
And for the Ravens, Lamar, you start him. He did miss yesterday's practice, but again, they're treading with caution with Lamar coming off that knee injury. He definitely will play. Derrick Henry, very disappointing game when they faced Cleveland in week 2. He had 11 carries for 23 yards. Absolutely dismal. I kind of have a feeling it might, up against a tough defense on paper, I kind of feel like it might be a bit of a Derrick Henry spot. He might want to right his wrongs from that game in week 2. Pass catches are a tough one. I mean, Zay Flowers has been the most consistent, but doesn't really have a ceiling. But again, if you have him on your roster, you probably have to start him at this point. The tight ends is probably where we will go, Secko. And this one, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Likely's back from injury. It's had a couple of weeks to get game fit. How do you see this one playing out for the tight ends?
Yeah, I feel like now's about the time where Likely takes over. I'm actually pretty confident on him. Not so much in this game, but him going forward. He's going to be huge. He's started to get a lot more of the snaps. Andrews is still getting the touchdowns, which is was what he does, but he's looked a bit off. He's lost a lot of targets. He's only had I think 2 targets each the last 2 weeks. So Likely's outpointed him there. And it's just, I think it's just a matter of time until Likely takes over. Everything rings back to those John Harbaugh comments at the start of the year where he said, "This guy's going to be an all pro bowler for us." So he wants him to succeed. I think he's going to get him involved a lot more as he's fully fit and ready to go. And now Lamar's back as well. Probably maximizes a little bit of what Likely can do. So expect to see him take the lead out of that tight end room.
Another divisional game. Chiefs heading to Denver, taking on the Broncos. Chiefs are minus 4-point favorites, 44 total. These guys are coming off the bye. There's no way I can see the Broncos winning this one. I think Patty Mahomes is 13-1 against the Broncos in his career, and Andy Reid off the bye is absolutely ballistic. His stats are off the charts too in terms of win-loss. For the Chiefs, the running back's Kareem Hunt. He's really the only guy there. He might fall into the end zone. Again, don't play him with confidence. Rashee Rice, he's been on a tear. You're going to start him. Xavier Worthy is probably a bit questionable, Secko. How do you kind of feel about him in this one?
It's funny. I sort of don't. I don't think about him. I don't know why. I've never really been a Worthy guy. Obviously, when Rice wasn't there, he was relevant, but he's sort of always a lesser thought in my head because Rice is back and he's the guy, and almost seems like this might sound really weird, but it's almost like Mahomes can't support another option. We all know he can, but Worthy's had sort of one decent game, I think, ever since Rice has been back. So Denver's a really good team defense. I'm not sure if Surtain's playing or not. I think he's still out. But they're a really good team at stopping. That's why I don't think of him. He's had 23, 53, 35, and 20 yards the last 4 weeks. I just don't know if you can trust Worthy at all at those sort of things. He's had 2, 3, 5, and 3 catches. It's just not fantasy viable at the moment. It's Rice, and if you need to start Kelsey, you can, but not ideally in this matchup.
And for the Broncos, I mean, Bo Nix, I honestly think I'd rather play Jameis Winston over Bo Nix in this one. I think the Chiefs are just going to be absolutely gunning for him. No J.K. Dobbins to lean on either. Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin. I don't think you can start them either, Secko. They've both been, Sutton's been kind of taking a back seat. Franklin's been seeing more targets, which is very surprising. Has been a massive letdown. Is there anybody on the Broncos that you're willing to start in this game against the Chiefs off the bye?
No, look, probably not. Obviously RJ Harvey we spoke about. He's going to get the lead run. I probably startable only because he's the main guy, but I wouldn't want to be starting him. Ingram's a no, and their receivers are a no, and obviously as you said, Nix is a pretty hard avoid. So I think the key is off the bye. You've hit that pretty hard and you've nailed it there. It is in Denver, but this is the kind of game. Denver's still ahead of them in the standings, I think. Without looking at the standings there, they'll want to turn that around pretty quick, and this is the best way to do it is to beat them on their own field. 8-2 to 5-4. Wow, 8-2. How are they
Yeah,
8-2? Oh,
it's amazing.
yeah, that's right. They've been beating really bad teams by single scores. I can't see a world where the Chiefs don't win this game.
I'm with you there. Moving on to prime time on Monday, Sunday night football over in the States. Lions heading to Philly, taking on the Eagles. Eagles are just under a field goal favorite, 46.5 total points. I think you can probably start everybody. Honestly, all the key guys, there's going to be that many points in this game. I know the defense is good for the Eagles and the Lions as well, mind you, but I think both offenses, it's probably a battle for that, both for that number one spot in the NFC. They both want to kind of compete up against that. Dan Campbell's back calling plays for the Lions. They've looked that whole, I know it was against the Commanders, but 44 points. They looked much better with Dan Campbell calling the shots. Anyone that you really be looking to sit, Secko? I mean, for the Eagles, AJ Brown, there's been that many talks this week. Maybe I'm a sucker for AJ Brown, but I think he goes off this week. I think this is it. I think he can just really have a big one, and it's a good matchup to have it. Terrion Arnold, one of the corners for the Lions side of the ball, he's been questionable this week with practice, so he might miss, which will open up some more doors. Devonta Smith, no doubt, has looked like the better receiver, and Jalen Hurts is targeting him on a lot more players, but I think AJ Brown's been pretty loud this week, and it might be a bit too hard to ignore.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree
It's
with that.
gross. I know, it's gross.
Yeah, I just think he doesn't want to be there. I could have it wrong, but he just doesn't seem to be trying on the field, to be honest. And Devonta Smith's just taken that opportunity and run with it, which I love from him. He could. He's a great player. If he wants to be there. He wants to turn up. They're going to have to throw it. We know that Detroit is going to be throwing it. My only issue is I haven't looked at the weather. It's outdoors in Philly. It's nighttime. It could be cold for poor Jared Goff, and it might be another 10-7 if he's his outdoor self. But I expect there'll be a fair bit of passing in this game. I expect that I would still start AJ Brown if I had him. I'd love to try and trade him on name value if I had him. So
it's hard. It's hard trying to trade AJ Brown. I've tried, but so now I'm buying back in. I'm ready to be let down again. But in this game, could have it wrong. Could be a battle of the running backs. It's going to be tough, especially like you mentioned with the weather. If it is, poor conditions, they could really lean on both sides of the ball and both have a great running game. But again, you probably start everyone. Could be a spot where everybody goes off for you in that. Man, what an absolute ripper of a game. So many good games this week. Another game to end things on Monday Night Football, Tuesday morning here for us. The Cowboys taking on the Raiders. Cowboys are favorites in Las Vegas. 50 total points, biggest of the week. Both horrid defenses, things that we absolutely love to see for fantasy production. On the Cowboys side of the ball, Dak Prescott, your side of the week. Absolutely, no doubt. And in turn, all of his receivers, Jake Ferg, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, you can start all of those guys with confidence this week. Javonte Williams as well. I think they can all kind of beat up on the Raiders. On the Raiders side of the ball, Secko, Brock Bowers, I think he has to bounce back after that poor outing last week against Denver. Geno Smith. Oh, man, Geno Smith. I just can't believe how wrong I was at the start of the year. I was pretty high on him at the Raiders. I thought everything was lining up. I know they've had some injuries, but, man, he has looked so bad. So bad. I'm surprised he's still in there. It just shows how good of a relationship he has with old man Pete Carroll. But Raiders side of the ball, Secko, is there anyone else you want to start besides Genty and Brock Bowers in this one?
Nah, it's really hard to. They just so they got rid of Jacoby Myers, and they really haven't got that guy yet. Tyler Lockett was the guy last week. That probably says enough about them, about that. It's just not, they're in between being a really, really bad team and or giving up. Sorry, they're in between giving up completely and they're still looking like they're trying to keep it going. Bowers, I think, is in for one of those, like the game he had against Jacksonville. Cowboys just are the team that gift. There's such a gift to every team that plays them. They can't do it. I mean, they picked up a couple of guys. We'll see what happens there. It's TBD, but I can't see it stopping Brock Bowers after what happened last week against a good defense. They're going to be doing everything they can to get the ball to him. So I wouldn't start anyone. Genty, Bowers, and that's it. But Bowers, don't be scared of last week. Cram him back into your lineups.
He should absolutely smash, which we all need. That is all the fantasy game breakdowns for week 11 coming up. It's going to be, oh man, we're going to have a fun week this week. I think there's a lot of good games there. Very keen to watch.
Yeah.
On Monday, we will run into a couple of start-sit questions in our comments. I think there has been a couple have come through, which we will run through. Of course, if you are watching on YouTube, smack that like button, subscribe, ring that bell. We really appreciate it. It's a nice free way to support the show here at Insight NFL. Over to the comments. Secko, this one is here. I'll quickly just flip that one off. Over here, it is a SuperCoach trade question, but we will get to it. Here from Jacob Cheeseman over on X. Dart to Lamar against the Browns and make one trade of Pittman to CD and Dart to Stafford. So if you have to pick out of those ones, I mean, I think you just go Dart to Lamar, even if it's, it's a week early. He mightn't feel good about the Browns, but he killed them last time, and then Pittman to CD. I think that's pretty straightforward. Secko, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pittman to CD is a great choice. CD's that little bit cheaper than some of the others as well. So he's someone we identified last night as a top 6 guy. I think you want to get him if you can. And I think Dak this week, Dak and CD is going to be big. So you get the instant injection. Lamar's a great choice. Dart's got to go, obviously. You may as well go to Lamar unless you want to get potty like we spoke about last night. Give that a listen. We spoke about Stafford and why you could go him. But we've spoken about Lamar's run home is phenomenal. So even if this week isn't amazing, his next 5 or 6 will be. So do it now because you'll get rid of Dart anyway.
Yeah, they have the Bengals twice. I just can't believe that. That's lining up to be a monster couple of weeks for Lamar. One here, not a question, but Theo, good to see another comment in from here. He's pretty active here. We love to see it. Tita guaranteed Trevion Henderson an 8 and the running back from Miami. You love that. It could very well happen like that, Theo. Gamble responsibly as always. One here from Jay up. Would you start Breece Hall or RJ Harvey, Secko?
Start Breece Hall. Yeah, just a Kansas City matchup. If RJ Harvey was getting the lead nod against almost any other team, really, I'd be more likely to go there. But yeah, I just think Breece Hall, he's just the entirety of that offense, and that they can do it pretty comfortably without too much stress this week. It's not an easy matchup against the Patriots tomorrow, but if anything, they can find a way to get him the ball pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that. Another one from Jay up. Start Rome Odunze or Chase Brown. So this must be in the flex. Chase Brown has the Steelers. Rome Odunze up against the Vikings. I'm taking Rome Odunze in this one. If he is healthy, though, that's, again, you're going to have to monitor those practice reports. Chase Brown could still be okay against the Steelers, get a bit involved in that passing game, which we like to see. But how do you feel on that one too, Secko?
If it's half PPR or non-PPR, I'd actually go Chase Brown. I think because Samaje Perine's out. Well, I think he's trending to be out anyway. Not that it's really over relevant, but it'll mean that Chase Brown gets almost all the snaps. And with the way that he's been playing with Flacco, he's sort of back on that radar of a sort of high end. Rome, I'm worried about missing practice. It's just not what you want from him. I'm probably one of the biggest Rome guys around. Everyone knows that who's listened before. I think this week though, Chase Brown's in a spot to go big.
Couple of good options there, Jay up, and you've got another one here. Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. So Darnold up against your Rams, Secko, or Baker up against the Bills in Buffalo. Which way are you leaning?
Both away. I'd probably lean towards Sam Darnold, only because I think they're gonna have to throw a lot. And I'm not saying that Baker won't, but I just think that the Bills off that last week loss they're going to be coming out real fired up. And I just feel like that Darnold can pick his part down the field with JSN and really capitalise. And as you said, with that Shaheed long bomb play always an option, I think they can, Darnold can have a good game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too. Want to hear from Barons? We've got a couple of drops. Drop Monongai for Algier, Coram, Bigsby, Chuba, or Mixon. I have Swift. Don't like to usually hold my own RBs handcuffed, but Monongai did do pretty good when Swift was out. So, yeah, you've got Swift. You're holding Monongai as a handcuff. What would you do here, Secko? I know if Rico Dowdle doesn't play this week, I think you can just pick up Chuba and start him with confidence in that one as you'll get the mantle. But
yeah, they're all very similar. I'm assuming none of them are to start, so I'm assuming this is just as a handcuff, as a bench stash. Anyway, I would leave Monongai. He's the best of them. Otherwise, if you don't want to do the handcuff thing, LG is probably the best option because he does have standalone value. But if Bijan misses, then he's to the moon kind of guy. So I'd probably stick with Monongai because he's shown he's really good when he gets the opportunity.
one here from Theo. Come up here. Start Derrick Henry or Barkley. Henry up against the Browns. Barkley up against the Lions in prime time.
It's tough. It's a tough one.
It's tough.
Because, it could very much be a Derrick Henry kind of game, establishment game. I think I would lean Derrick Henry only because I just feel like he's due for a monster.
On the same, another one here from Jay Up, not a start or sit, but he traded away Tyler Warren for Rico Dowdle. You mentioned this on last one. I think it's a good trade. It hurts if he doesn't play this week, but all in all, Rico Dowdle down the stretch should be pretty good for you there. One from Ron McGrath. Can you bench Dart and play JJ just for a week or so whilst Dart is making cash? You're going to have to this week because Dart isn't playing Rod, so you'll have to throw him in there. One from Alex over in the States. Good to see your comments over there. Alex, nice and early for you. Gross question, but start Love, Nix, or Flacco? It's Flacco for me, and I think that's pretty easy too.
Easy.
Yeah.
Like
Love and Nix.
Flacco by a mile. Yep.
I'm the same. What did he do against the Steelers when they played in week 7? I think he threw for like 470 yards. Oh, no, that was against Chicago. 340 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Steelers.
Yeah, they went for 7 touchdowns combined and like 780 yards or something. Him and Rodgers.
Nuts. So. Absolutely nuts. And last one you hear from Rod, looks like to be SuperCoach. Which QB to get for run home that's not named Allen? Lamar Jackson. That is nice and easy versus Cincy twice. And the playoffs as well, I think, is pretty juicy as well, those final stretch. But, yeah, definitely Lamar. What do they have? Green Bay, New England, and Cincinnati.
5 easy matches. 5 easy matchups in a row after this week. So it's a no-brainer.
Love that. Thanks heaps, everybody, for the comments. If you have anything more, please throw it down on the YouTube comments after we've finished recording this tonight. We'll get to them before the week kicks off. If you have missed our previous shows, all the links are in the description below. And, of course, keep an eye out for our show dropping first thing in the morning. Our first edition must make moves to get you guys prepped for the playoffs. Best of luck for week 11. We'll be back on Monday to run it all back and see how we went with our starts of the week this week.
Bye-bye.